Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is standing in front of an escalator and a staircase, and choosing the escalator. Not because they're tired, not because they're injured, not because they're carrying something heavy, just because the escalator is there. And some part of their brain made the decision before they even realized there was a decision to make. That person is going to feel guilty about it. Maybe they'll think about the gym membership they're not using. Maybe they'll scroll past a fitness post later and feel that particular brand of shame that has become one of the defining experiences of modern life. Here's what nobody ever tells them. They're not lazy. They're not failing. They're doing exactly what 2 million years of human evolution built them to do. And the ancient human, who is their direct ancestor, would have made exactly the same choice. Without hesitation, without guilt, and with the full support of every survival instinct in their body. If videos like this make you question everything you thought you knew about being human, subscribe right now. Every week we uncover one more forgotten truth that your ancestors understood and the modern world completely forgot. It takes 2 seconds, and it means everything to a small channel like this. Now, let's talk about the biggest lie the fitness industry ever told you. The gym was invented in the 1970s, not ancient history, not even your grandparents' generation, the 1970s. Before that, nobody voluntarily went somewhere specifically to move their body for health. The concept didn't exist. And yet somehow, ancient humans had bodies that would make modern athletes deeply uncomfortable. Stronger bones, better hearts, more endurance, more functional strength. Built without a single squat rack, without a single protein shake, without a single fitness influencer telling them what to do. So what did they know that we completely forgot? Professor Daniel Lieberman has spent decades trying to answer that question. He's a Harvard evolutionary biologist. He studied extinct human species and living hunter-gatherer populations for most of his career, and his conclusion is simple and genuinely devastating for the entire fitness industry. Exercise, as we currently think about it, voluntary physical activity done specifically for health with no other goal, is a modern invention. It did not exist for most of human history, not because ancient humans were lazy, but because exercising for its own sake, in a world where every single calorie matters, is an extraordinarily strange thing to do. Lieberman puts it directly. When people don't exercise, we label them as lazy, but they are actually doing what we evolved to do, which is to avoid unnecessary physical activity. Read that again. Your instinct to avoid the gym is not a character flaw. It is a 2-million-year-old survival strategy that kept every single one of your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestor. Here's the math that makes this make perfect sense. For most of human prehistory, food was not guaranteed. You didn't know when the next meal was coming. You couldn't order delivery. You couldn't open a refrigerator. The calories you had today were the calories you had, and there was no certainty about tomorrow. In that world, burning calories on activity you don't need to do isn't laziness. It's a survival mistake. Every single calorie your body burns on unnecessary movement is a calorie that isn't available for the things your body actually requires. Keeping your heart beating, your brain working, your immune system running. Your body that conserved energy whenever possible outlasted the body that burned it whenever it felt like it. Which is exactly why your brain is so good at finding reasons not to move when it doesn't have to. This isn't weakness. This is engineering. The most sophisticated survival software ever written, running perfectly in a world it was never designed for. Imagine waking up. No alarm, no phone, no coffee maker. Your body's simply done sleeping. You open your eyes. The ground beneath you is hard. The air is cold. Somewhere nearby, a fire is dying down. Your first thought isn't exercise. It isn't calories. It isn't whether you hit your step count yesterday. Your first thought is water. And the only way to get it is to walk there. So you walk. Not because you want to stay fit, not because your watch told you to, Because your throat is dry and there is water somewhere in that direction. And that walk, that completely purposeful, completely necessary walk, is exactly how ancient humans moved for 200,000 years. Studies of the Hadza people of Tanzania, one of the last remaining hunter-gatherer populations on Earth, give researchers the closest available window into how prehistoric humans actually spent their days. Hadza men walk roughly 8 to 11 miles per day. Hadza women walk 4 to 6 miles. Those are significant numbers. On the surface, it sounds like extraordinary amounts of physical activity. But here's the detail that changes everything. None of it was exercise. All of it was purposeful. Every single step had a reason attached to it. Walking to where food was, walking back with what they found, covering the distance between camp and the nearest water source, carrying a child, carrying what they gathered, moving because there was somewhere to go and something that needed getting. Researcher David Reichlin at the University of Arizona studied Hadza activity patterns extensively. GPS trackers, accelerometers, months of data. His conclusion was precise. The Hadza are active when they need to be, and when they don't need to be, they rest. Now here's something that should have broken the internet, but somehow didn't. In 2012, Herman Poncer at Duke University published a paper comparing the total daily energy expenditure of Hadza hunter-gatherers with people living in the United States and Europe. The expectation was obvious. Hunter-gatherers move more, so they must burn more calories. Everyone assumed a massive gap. The result was not what anyone expected. After controlling for body size, the Hadza burned roughly the same number of calories per day as Westerners. The same. A population walking 8 to 11 miles per day across the African savanna burns approximately the same daily calories as a person who drives to work, sits at a desk for 8 hours, and goes home. How is that even possible? The answer, Poncer's research suggests, is that the human body adjusts. When the Hadza move more, their bodies compensate by spending less energy on internal processes. Inflammation, stress hormones, reproductive activity. Things your body quietly dials back when it needs to redirect that budget toward movement. The human body isn't a simple machine where input equals output. It's a living negotiation between what the environment demands and what your survival requires. And your body has been winning that negotiation for 2 million years. But here's where it gets truly shocking. Because if the Hadza burn the same calories as Westerners, why are they so much healthier? Why do they have dramatically lower rates of cardiovascular disease? Why do their hearts look decades younger than their Western age-matched counterparts? Why do their bodies function the way human bodies were designed to function? The answer isn't calories. The answer is bones. In 2017, researchers studying ancient arm bones from Neolithic farmers, women who spent their lives digging and carrying and hauling and grinding, found something that stopped modern scientists completely. Their bone strength significantly exceeded that of modern female athletes. Not recreational athletes, elite athletes. Including current members of the Cambridge University rowing team, ancient farming women versus modern elite rowers. The ancient women won by a significant margin. These weren't people doing bicep curls. These were people whose entire existence demanded physical effort and whose bodies responded by becoming extraordinary. A 2016 study published in Nature took this even further, comparing ancient human leg bones with modern humans, including competitive runners. The ancient bones showed structural properties that modern bones simply don't develop, even in people who exercise regularly. We are physically weaker than our ancestors, despite spending more money on fitness than any civilization in human history. Let that land for a moment. Your ancient ancestor would look at a treadmill the way you look at someone running in place at an airport. Confused, slightly concerned, wondering if they need help. Not because running is wrong, but because running toward nothing, for no reason other than the running itself, would have seemed genuinely insane to a mind wired for purpose. Ancient humans didn't run for fitness. They ran because something was chasing them, or because something needed catching. And the moment neither of those things was true, they stopped running and sat down, completely, without guilt. And this is the part that changes everything. Because what ancient rest actually looked like is nothing like what modern rest looks like. When the Hadza rest, which they do frequently, and without apparent guilt, they're not sitting in ergonomic chairs staring at screens. They're sitting on the ground, which requires continuous low-level muscle activation just to maintain posture. They're shifting position constantly. They're engaged in social activity, grooming, tool maintenance, food preparation. Their rest was more active than our movement. Modern sedentary rest involves sitting in a chair specifically engineered to require almost no muscular effort, looking at a screen for hours without changing position. The average person today sits for 6 to 8 hours in this kind of genuine physical inactivity. That's not what your ancestors' rest looked like, not even close. Researchers who study the physiological effects of sitting, a field that has expanded dramatically in the past 2 decades, have found something precise and important. The problem isn't sitting itself. The problem is sustained static sitting without interruption. Brief, regular movement breaks, even small ones, have an outsized positive effect on metabolic health relative to their tiny size, which happens to be exactly the pattern that unavoidably structured hunter-gatherer rest. They weren't managing their sedentary time. They were just living in an environment that didn't permit the kind of sustained static inactivity that modern life has made the default. Now let's talk about the thing the fitness industry will never tell you, because it would destroy their business model. Ancient humans never moved alone. Every single physical task was social. Hunting was a team effort. Gathering was a community activity. Building shelter was a group project. Moving camp was a family operation. There was no such thing as a solo workout. There was no such thing as putting in your headphones and suffering alone for an hour. Physical effort was woven into the fabric of human connection so completely that separating them would have been incomprehensible. Modern research has confirmed what our ancestors lived instinctively. Social exercise is 200% more effective than solo exercise for almost every measurable health outcome. And here's the detail that should be on every gym wall in the world. Exercising alone while feeling lonely triggers stress hormones that partially cancel the physical benefits of the exercise itself. Your body wasn't just built to move. It was built to move with people it loves. And no amount of solo suffering on a treadmill will fully replicate what that does for a human body. Imagine it's late afternoon, 50,000 years ago. The hunting was good today. Your group is walking back to camp together. You're tired, your legs ache, but there's laughter ahead of you. Someone is telling a story about what happened at the river. Someone else is arguing about the best route home. A child is riding on someone's shoulders. You're carrying more than you should probably be carrying, but you don't think about that. You think about tonight's fire, about the food, about the people around you. And your body, without your permission, without your awareness, is becoming exactly what it was designed to be. Strong, capable, alive. Not because you decided to get fit, because your life demanded it, and you answered. Professor Lieberman makes a point that I think is the most important thing in this entire conversation. The modern fitness industry has taken a genuine human need, regular physical movement which our bodies require to function, and wrapped it in a moral framework that does more harm than good. Making people feel guilty about not exercising has not produced a world where more people exercise. It has produced a world where most people cycle between guilt and inaction, occasionally interrupted by bursts of overambitious effort that don't last. The Hadza don't have a word for exercise. They have words for hunting, for gathering, for walking to the water source. The activity and its purpose were the same thing. There was no category of movement done specifically for health, independent of any other goal. That concept didn't exist. It had to be invented precisely because everything that used to make movement unavoidable got removed. The diseases that kill the most people in the modern world, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, depression, are not random misfortunes. They are what happens when a body shaped by millions of years of physical demands is placed in an environment that has removed almost all of those demands overnight. In evolutionary terms, Daniel Lieberman calls them diseases of comfort. And the phrase is precise in a way that lifestyle disease isn't, because lifestyle implies choice. Comfort implies a system, working exactly as it was designed until the conditions changed around it. Your cardiovascular system was built to walk, to carry things, to cover long distances on foot. When it doesn't do those things, not because you're choosing not to, but because the world has been redesigned so that it's never necessary, it starts doing things it was never built to do. Here's the number that reframes this entire conversation. In a comprehensive review of physical activity data from hunter-gatherer and subsistence farming populations, published in the American Journal of Human Biology, researchers found that the average person in a pre-industrial society spent somewhere between 2.5 and 5 hours per day in moderate to vigorous physical activity. That sounds like a lot, until you look at what the other 19 to 21 hours were doing. Sleeping, sitting, resting. The picture we've absorbed from modern wellness culture is that our ancestors were constantly active, lives of ceaseless physical effort, and that we've betrayed that heritage by developing comfortable chairs and delivery apps. The research doesn't support this. What the research shows is intermittent, intense activity embedded in a large amount of rest. Work hard when work is required, rest completely when it isn't, neither requiring a value judgment, neither requiring guilt. And now, the most important thing I want to say to you, not as information, as something that might actually change how you feel about yourself. You are not lazy. You are not undisciplined. You are not failing. You are a body, built for a world that no longer exists, trying to function in a world that has systematically removed every condition that used to make movement unavoidable. That is a design mismatch, not a character defect. The person who understands that and figures out how to add movement back into their life, without the shame, without the guilt, without the moral weight that the fitness industry has attached to it, will do better than the person who keeps trying to guilt themselves into consistency, which has never worked for anyone in the entire history of trying. If this video made you see yourself differently, subscribe. Every week, we uncover one more forgotten truth that explains not just where we came from, but why we are the way we are right now. The next one might be the most important video you watch this year. Don't miss it. Your ancestors didn't need motivation. They didn't need discipline. They didn't need a gym membership or a fitness influencer or a 30-day challenge. They just needed a reason to move. And every single day, life gave them one. Maybe that's all you need too. Drop a comment below. Do you think modern exercise culture has it completely wrong? I read every single one.